Today, we're going to be talking about where business ideas come from, how do business people actually validate those ideas, and really ultimately decide whether they're worth a crap. Madeleine, a lot of times we get approached and people ask us, how do you come up with business ideas? Where do you get them? How do you validate them? And we always tell them the first and easiest way is stop thinking you have to spend a ton of money on it. Certainly you can go and hire this massive marketing research company to identify problems, but they have to still align with you if that's something you do. But we've always found the easiest way is to listen carefully, pay attention, watch for trends, watch for problems people are having, and really engaging people you know and listening to them about the problems they're experiencing or things that you've experienced. What say you?
Yes, that's a good, there's so many golden nuggets out there. All you have to do is bring awareness to your surroundings. So frustrations, your own frustrations, people's frustrations, you can create ideas from that. You could kind of monitor as an exercise, what are your frustrations for a week? And trust me when I tell you, you'll find enough of them that you can create your own idea.
That's right. And so a lot of times you're absolutely right. It's sitting around, at a coffee shop and you're talking to friends, or maybe you're at the mall or you're shopping and you're next to somebody and you see them visibly frustrated about something that you're recognizing because it's something that experienced to you, right? And once you have a list of different ideas, then it's really critical that you start assessing, are those real problems that you can come up with a solution, right? And so to me, I think the easiest thing to do is just pay attention to what's happening around you in the world, what you're listening to. I think about an example. You mentioned it to me a long time ago after our luggage was lost, right? Somebody came up with an idea to put something in the luggage so that you could know where it was.
Even if you can do nothing.
What?
Because even if you can't do anything about it, but
that's
at
right.
least you know where it's at.
Even though it might be right down there in that where they host it, but you can't get down there to get it, you know where it is, right? But somebody came up with that problem and said, I wonder if there's a solution.
Right.
Now, the real question is after you've identified that, and I love what you did, and actually in a course that we're launching in about 90 days, we actually have a whole section on ideation and validation. And one of the things that you said is so critical. Take a week and just list every problem or frustration you come in front of, right? Or you hear of. It could be that you're at the coffee shop and the line's too long, right? What's the solution? I don't know, but it's a problem. It's a frustration.
Yeah.
So what we do in that process is we teach them how to look and listen for ideas, right? And then the second step is to talk to people that you do know, but more importantly, talk to people you don't know as much as you can to identify if that problem is real and if they would be interested in understanding a solution that you've come up with, and actually, would they be interested in utilizing that solution?
I know. And it's funny because as I was thinking about, people use social media for a lot of different things, for venting and things like that. That would be an area that I would really put out there what to do, the frustration loops, put them out there and see how people will give you the answers. Yeah, I have that problem too. That's another way of bringing ideas into market.
Yeah. Another one you use is reviews.
Oh, yeah. I love going to reviews.
You just, hey, that's a cool product or that's something that's cool. And then you look at it and then you say, look at that. All these people are saying something about it.
Same thing. Yeah. Constantly. Constant problem. So as a constant problem, you have to come up with a solution. And I think that we just miss opportunities all day long because we are so busy trying to do, I don't know what, but whatever it is, That exercise, it's really powerful to really document all your frustrations and see what you can come up with.
It might be a good journaling technique as well.
Yeah, maybe.
Because these things are bothering you, right?
Yeah.
So-
Well, and there's also, lots of services out there that people don't realize that, services that are broken. What solution can you come up with to fix a service product?
Right. Exactly. The solution is the next step, right? Do I have a solution? I've come up with an idea. I've found the idea from the frustrations or problems I'm seeing out in the space or things that I engage with on a daily basis. And now it's, do I actually have a solution that I think could be usable, right? And so now you have a little bit of brainstorming to go on. Again, you can talk, like you're saying, talk to people, engage them, whether it's in social media, and find out, how are they dealing with this now? What's the workaround they're using if it's a problem with an existing product? Or if it's something that is new, how would that help them? Right? And the more we sit down and we understand the idea and then the solution, then we transition to a validation process that is interesting because you can do it a couple of different ways, right? You have an idea, I know, because it's something that we've used, but also within the structure of what we've also done is it's building out the solution that you can articulate it and then asking people specifically, would this work for you? Right? If not, how would you make it better? Right? And I know that webinar solution that you have that we've used, right, is really interesting because you're in the process of coming up with the solution, but you're actually getting people to help you.
Right. So just to clarify on that, so there's different ways of doing this, right? It depends on what the product is. So if you are, like in your case, you like to validate things that are, tangible when you have a brick and mortar and what have you, but also the online process, that webinar thing, even before you build it, you go live with some people. You figure out if there's any interest in the webinar, right? If there's a solution that you're providing, bringing them in, and then creating the product as you go along and creating your waiting list for that product. They will tell you what they want.
Right.
And that instead of trying to throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it's going to stick, you have the actual person, people telling you how to create it and what problem is really solving for them.
Yeah, I love that because, when you're creating the solution, ultimately what you have to do before you really finalize your initial validation process is you have to make sure you can package that solution so it's easily understandable of what it does, what the problem it solves, and that here, and then ultimately you have to say, if I were to have that product or service or whatever the fix in the solution is, would you be willing to put a deposit down, pre-order it, right? Because at the end of the day, and this is why I always tell people to talk to people, more people that you don't know about it than people you do know. Because people you do know always want to be supportive and they will say, oh, that's a great idea. But the question is that just interest at that point or are they committed?
Right.
And so when you ask people that you don't know and they say, yes, that is something that would work for me. And yes, I'm willing to put a deposit down or pre-order it or whatever it is. Now, remember, we don't even have the product built. We're just actually framing it in a way that we are doing the market research. Instead of spending $25,000 to get somebody to study this, we're going to go and we're going to talk to people that have the true need for the solution to the problem that you found. And we're going to ask them if they like our solution. And if they do, would they be willing to pay for it? That's commitment. Because now you're going to ask them to give you their credit card, right? Or you're going to get the pre-order. It reminds me of when GM was coming up with their electric vehicles, right? And they said
we are not sponsoring GM.
No, but maybe they will sponsor us. But my point is that what did they do? They got people to give them $100
Yes.
to
Tesla
be
did
on,
the same thing.
to be on the waiting list
Mhm.
for their electric vehicle. Now, whether those people actually bought or not, they showed enough
Interest.
and commitment to actually give them money.
Mm-hmm.
So now they kind of knew what their audience was. That's a whole nother discussion. I don't want to get into the electric
No.
vehicle industry, but my point is the largest companies do the same thing.
Yeah, I never really noticed that, but that is true. It's really to gauge the commitment, not the interest.
That's
There's
right.
two different things, right? Interest and commitment. That's how I don't work with people that are interested. I work with people that are committed because that's where the transformation happens from my perspective. But the same thing goes for anything you do out there. When people are committed to their transformation, their health and wellness, whatever it is, they do pay something.
They're willing to put the skin in the game to say that I really want.
Yes.
And because it's that big of an issue and it's a problem they need solved, right? And so to me, that's the beauty of our process for validation is we're not spending a lot of money going out before we built the product. We are literally validating if it is a viable product. Then we move to the next level, right? And so once we've done that, now we go into product creation or service creation or whatever the product or service is, right? And so that's the beauty of it, right? Because we are now going through the process of, again, coming up with the idea, coming up with the solution, getting input on the solution, then truly validating the solution. One of the other things, and this is where your webinar idea also comes into play. Once you've got it truly built, you can build a beta test group, right? Or, I go back to when we launched our fitness studio, right? We had classes for people to come in and test our idea before we were even ready to pre-launch. This is, hey, we've got this super idea. This is this, we've kind of vetted the solution now. We validated that the people will like the concept. We knew that they were willing to pay for it. But now you got to get real testing done on how do we make it even better, right? Now, full transparency, we did a little wrong in that part for us in that particular scenario is we had more people that knew us come to those classes than didn't know us. So we weren't getting 100% of what we wanted. However, we still got really good, viable answers. And what was amazing is how close we were, but then we put little touches into it, right? Little things that made the experience a little bit better. Something that when you're building it yourself, you got to remember you're too close to it. You need to have that third party that is committed to the concept, but they will help you build it even better.
Yes, that's why it is important to be open to feedback. And most people find that feedback is negative, and it can be.
Yeah.
But you have to take the emotions away from that feedback and say, okay, thank you for the feedback. That's great. And go do. Go implement. If that's something that it is aligned with what you want the product to be like.
Right.
Because that's also important.
Exactly. And it's not just one person. It's got to be a consistent communication that you're getting that says, this is something that we would want. And if the majority are saying that, then it's probably true. If it's a one-off, then you have to evaluate, are the others just not saying it? And then how do you go and validate that again? And then you go back to that same group and say, I was assessing our process, our product, our service. If it had this, or if we did this, would it make it better, the same, or would it detract from the product or service that from your perspective? It's okay to constantly, and we should always be constantly validating our products and our services because the market changes.
It does. That's a big one. I think that people don't understand how fast the market changes, and it does impact whatever product you're doing. I mean, and that's in everything. Not just one thing, it's everything. And especially with AI now, everything is moving really fast. So you have to move just as fast.
Good point. I didn't even think of AI. I didn't want to think about AI. But the funny thing is that you can utilize tools like Chat, Claude, and you can have it help you fine tune your offer, but you still need human intervention to tell you what the market is looking for and how they will respond to it. Because as much as we think AI can do a lot of things from a standpoint of what a human can do, what it can't do is put emotion, and it can't put the real feeling into it. So you have to have real person feedback. And I love that. Any other things you want to talk about on the whole ideation and validation?
No, I think we're good.
We are good. So guys, what we wanted to really come through here today is one, understanding that you don't have to have massive investment to find your initial idea and to validate it. So the first thing we need you to do is come up with a list of ideas that you think you can come up with solutions for. Once you come up with solutions to those, talk to people you do know, but more people that you don't know, and find out if that solution actually fits their need and if they would commit by putting a deposit down or pre-ordering it. And then you go through the process of building, validating, and then you move to your pre-launch and your launch. So till next time, thanks for joining us.
Let's get to work.